So now when we rent a boat, it used to be everybody wanted to ski, then it was everybody wanted to wakeboard. Now the hot button, the hot ticket is surfing. People now want these nice boats to surf. They still do some of the other stuff, but surfing's where it's at. So let's go over setting up a boat for surfing, possibly wakeboarding. When we first get into a boat, when we get out in the water, the first thing I always do is open the engine compartment to make sure we're not leaking anywhere. It's also important when we're doing plug and play ballast system that if there is something that needs to be reconnected or is not hooked up properly or whatever, you can identify it before it's a real problem. So the first thing we'll do is we get into this system here, and it's called the Quick Surf system on Centurions. There'll be a similar system to this on your Supremes and other boats. And we'll have a paper that will show the settings you'll want for each boat that we'll send you with your packet. But on most of these boats, there'll be a place for your Quick Surf system on the back. This one has a couple of buttons. One is you turn Quick System on. When you turn it on, it automatically is going to go where it was last set. There's something on these systems called Quick Launch. What that does is it takes all your surf plates and trim tab and everything and gives it a lot of trim so that when you have a lot of weight, and some of these boats have 5,300 pounds or more, when you have all that weight, it will get you up to plane very quickly. Without it, you'll drag along a ways before you get up to speed. So when you get in here, you want to turn it on, and you want to put on Quick Launch. And that allows the boat to adjust the trim to be what it needs to be to get on plane, and then it goes to whatever your settings are. So there's two settings you want on. You want it turned on, and you want Quick Launch. Then you want to determine if you're surfing right or left. The rule of thumb is if you're surfing left, there's usually a 70 setting from the factory. The setting, the 70 or 65 or whatever it is, will always be on the opposite side. So if I was to go on this one set on surf left, if I go surf right, you can see it's going to adjust. You can hear it adjusting, and there's 70. This trim tab happens to be set at 70, the last people that use the boat, but it could be 0 or it could be wherever. Normally what you do is it's set on 70, and then the middle tab you'll adjust to whatever trims it. The cool thing about these boats, you can trim it to be what you want it to be. You can have a long wave that's not very steep, allows you to do more spins, or you can have a steep, rolly, beefy wave that is really great for some aerial kind of things. So everybody has their own style of surfing and wave that you can dial in. What our boats are basically are going to be set when you get them for kind of how the factory gives them. They'll be on the 70 setting. The middle tab you'll probably adjust to be what you want it to be, and you'll be able to dial it in more. You can also dial it in with weight. When it comes to surfing, there's a couple of the history of surfing. We used to tip the boats in order to displace water to have a good surf wave. That's the way we used to do it. All the weight that we brought into the boat was on one side, and we tipped the boat, and that's how we created a wave. With the systems now, we've gotten beyond that, where we can displace water in the whole boat. So generally speaking, when you come in and put your ballast in, you're going to put ballast in the plug and plays, which are going to be your two bags, the first thing I do is I turn those on and fill them up. And I just fill them up till when they turn off. You want to make sure that they're filled up about the same. If you have to adjust a little bit of that water, you can adjust it that way. Those are plug and plays. Those come in with regular pumps. Now, this boat has what we call a ramfill, where you open up gates and you have to move forward, generally speaking, between 11 and 15 miles an hour. And this big old opening underneath the boat opens up, a big old scoop. It scoops water up and allows it to come into the system. Now, the thing to remember about this system, there's no way to know 100% what's in the boat. It's a calculation. It's a formulated calculation using time. It's not a float that tells you how much is in the boat. So when you hit these ramfills, you'll hit them, and on the screen will come up, it'll tell you what to do. It says move forward, and tell you the boat's filled. So you'll move forward, and it'll tell you when you're going fast enough. And you go, and you'll watch these fill up. They'll get to where they're full, and it decides they're full based upon a calculation of time. It knows with the scoop being open with X amount of time in normal conditions, it's going to bring X amount of water in. And it just says, okay, you've got 1 minute, 50 seconds. Okay, now you're full. It's a calculation. Well, they may or may not be full. How you know they're full is by, as you're still moving forward, you hit the fill button and it'll keep filling. You do that on everything you're filling in the ramfill. These two are ramfill. The two outside ones in the middle are pumps. They're bags and pumps. So these big ones, the ones that say P-ram, anything that says ram is ramfill, and that's most of your ballast. It brings in a lot of weight. And to make sure they're full again, when they get up to 100%, you hit full on both sides and keep going. It'll fill it up and it'll shut off. I usually do that a couple times. I know they're full. Okay? So when all those are full, I usually fill them up. The center one, I only put a little bit in. I put maybe half full. But all the other ones I fill up. What that does is it displaces water, pushes the boat down. Now what you're going to use is your quick surf system to tip the boat. So instead of just putting weight on one side where we're tipping the boat to create a wave, now what we get to do is push down the whole boat. And the purpose of this is so that you can change from side to side very quickly. So, for example, I put all my weight into the ballast. Now I'm going to go over and I'm going to surf right. And the system should be set up. If you need to adjust it, there's an edit button. You can go in. We will have these preset, so there should be little you have to do with those. The one that you will mess with the most is your middle plate. That'll dial it in a little bit. So you'll surf, this says you're surfing right. That means you're going to surf that side. That'd be a goofy side. The beauty of putting all the weight in the boat and having these surf tabs is, after I'm done with this rider, I can simply, and I have a guy that wants to surf port side or regular side, I can simply hit the port side button on quick surf, and as soon as you hear it done, you hear the sound go away, I'm ready for a surfer on that side. Now you can dial it in by putting a little bit more weight on that side and a little less on that side. There are a lot of ways that you can dial in a wave to be so perfect for each rider. But most renters are worried about getting a pretty good surf for everybody and keeping it simple. And the way to do that is put all the wave in, all the water in, and use these surf plates. Now, if there is a reason, for some reason, these quick surf system isn't working, guess what? You can go old school. Old school is you take out a lot of the water on one side, you pile your people on one side or the other, whatever side you're surfing on, and even without all those fancy systems we have, you can still surf. We were out doing surf lessons when our system gave out. All we did was fill up all the ballast on one side, pile the people on one side, and our surf was almost as good. And so we didn't lose a day out on the water just because our system wasn't working. So there's old school, which is tipping the boat, and you can still do that with our current system. Or you can use the new system where you fill up the whole boat. You can use your quick surf system where you're using your plates on each side, and then it's really quick changing from side to side. Is it possible to surf on one side and then jump over to the other? You can, simply by, with somebody out on the water, you can push it over there. The issue with that is it becomes a timing issue because there's a 3 or 4 second delay in what it does, what the wave does. Can you do it? Yes. So these systems now are very quick. When you're done, well, let's just talk a little bit about driving for a surfer. Driving for a surfer is a little bit different because the surfer is relatively close to the boat. One of the problems with surfing too is we create these big waves, and people end up bringing these big waves into the boat and getting their systems wet. Remember, when I was talking about the relays earlier, they stop too quick, and those surf waves come crashing into the back and can get into the engine system. The way you want to drive for a surfer is when you drop a surfer or when he falls or whatever, you slowly bring the boat down and let it settle. As the boat settles, it's naturally going to want to go one way or the other because of the weight you have in the boat. I usually will turn the way that it wants to turn and go in a circle really slow. The number one thing not to do is go really quick back to your surf wave or your rider. And that's with skiing, that's with wakeboarding, that's with surfing. You never race back to your rider. You slowly turn around. In that same line where you came from, you go to the same line. So if I came up like this, I go in a slow circle. I go right back that same line, right back to my skier. All the waves have gone out to both sides. So you never take in a wave. Your skier or surfer never feels the wave. It's all smooth. So that's kind of how you want to drive for any rider, whether it's a wakeboarder, a skier, or a surfer. I always pick up my skier or rider. I always turn on this side so I can always see my rider. If I come back this way, I turn really quick so I can always bring my rider to the side that I can see. So it's really safe. Now pulling surfers up can be really frustrating. The general rule is you go really slow, let them get on the board, and when you take off, you don't take off quickly, you take off really slow because getting up on a surfboard doesn't take any energy for the rider. It just pulls them right up, really simple. So don't take off, don't gun it, do it really slow. Okay. Now, when you're done, let's say you're done surfing. We want to take care of everything. The first thing I do is I turn off my system here, and you'll hear it. You can hear it moving, and it goes back to normal because I got the system off. Well, we're full of water, so we're going to want to get rid of the water. The first thing I'm going to get rid of is my ramfill. I'm going to hit drain on both of those. Just like when you filled it up, you now have to go forward in the boat 11 to 15 miles an hour, and you'll see the water coming out here. At the end, I hit it a couple times to make sure that all the water's out. Okay? You'll be able to tell because the water's going to want to go faster and faster, or the boat's going to want to go faster and faster when the weight's gone. When I'm done with that, I hit my drain buttons in my bags, and you want to go forward. You don't have to go, and you don't want to go very fast. You want the nose tipped and you want to just go kind of slow. And what it does, it takes all the water in those bags and it pushes them to the back where they're going to be coming out. So you'll be able to get all the water out of the bags as well. So you want to make sure the water's out of the bags and then the center bag as well. Okay, so when I turn those pumps on, you'll hear them. They're very loud. So you know they're on. You don't want to leave those going very long without water going through them, otherwise they'll burn up and then they'll leave you hanging. You won't be able to use them. So make sure when they're done, they go off quickly. Now, when you trailer the boat, this has what they call trailer mode. When you're done with the boat and you're done for your rental, when you get it on the trailer and you're on the ramp, you can hit trailer mode, and anything that's in those systems that needs to come out will come racing out. But when you're done, you want to make sure that you've closed all the gates from trailer mode. If trailer mode's been left on and you put the boat in the water, it'll want to be filling up the whole time you're in the water. And that can happen. If you're in the boat and for some reason the boat seems to be sluggish, chances are there's water in the boat. If you're riding the boat and it's tipped, there's only two things that are going to tip the boat. Weight in the boat on one side or the other, or you have a surf plate that's on. One of your quick surf gates are on. There are sometimes people going on a rental, somehow left the surf gate on and thought there was something wrong with the boat because everywhere they went, they were tipped. And they did an SOS call. We kept trying to tell them, hey, if all your ballast out, there's only one thing that can be causing you to tip, and that's going to be a surf plate. So that's the next thing to make sure that's off. If you don't think they're responding, sometimes you get in the water, you have some turn on, you feel them if they're coming up and down. So that is the surf systems. Again, remember, our surf systems are really convenient now. You can go from one rider to the next very quickly. If the system doesn't work, always can go old school and tip the boat. Let's say surf plates don't work and you can't put ballast in the boat. Pile the people on the side. The way these boats are made, the way the holes are made, you can still surf, even without these great systems that we have in them. Okay, so the quick surf system are these plates on the outside. Every boat's got a version of that. A lot of the new boats that surf will have a version of that. Centurion's is very simple. The cool thing about Centurion boats is their hull, even without these systems, can create a wave if you have weight. So the hull design itself makes it so these can be more simplistic. The thing to remember on these is when on the dash, when it says you're surfing left, the plate that's going to be down is the other side. So the plate that goes down is opposite of what you're surfing. And this is your quick surf system. That is what's going to be engaged, surfing right or left. This is your trim tab, which is going to really dial it in. Without it, you would see a real big difference. But it's what can make a wave steeper, or it can also make it help make it not as lippy. The other thing is your speed can change that, and the way you use your weight. So you can create any kind of wave you want with this system, with your weight, and the way you position people on the boat. Even with this great system, when you're surfing right or left, we still always put a few people on that side. You can tell a difference even with the wave. You just put a few extra people over there and you'll see the wave kind of lift a little bit. My son likes a long wave, and the way he sets up his wave is different. Because he does a lot more spins. I like to pop the wave a lot. I like a lot of curl. I like a big steepy wave. I like the feeling of that rush. I like to get down in the wave. And so my wave would be completely different than what he would like. These systems allow you to adjust that wave to fit almost any rider. With renters, they like to keep it pretty simple and dial it in a little bit with this. If you keep it, you get it mainly set for a goofy rider or a regular rider, then dial it in a little bit with your middle plate. And that's also got that little toggle on top of the steering wheel that you can toggle up and down.